We just walked about a quarter of a mile with no video, so you're getting an idea how long this thing is. So I'd paused it for about a quarter mile. Something there. Aroo!
Pretty good timing. Mammoth Cave was named because there was no woolly mammoths found down here, but it was a very popular word back in the 1800s. It meant big. We might name it a ginormous cave today. A huge cave today. Huge. But Mammoth was just a popular word, so they call it Mammoth Cave. Before that, it was whoever owned the cave. You know, Mr. Valentine owned the cave. It was Valentine's Cave. Mammoth Cave sold more tickets. It's all about marketing.
Doggone
And I
that.
heard somebody ask about Native Americans. They never got over in here.
Really?
There's no artifacts to be found here.
Wow.
There's no natural openings this area here. To get here from the natural entrance, you have to swim a river.
Oh.
And there's no indication they ever got back here. That's not saying some brave soul might have gotten back in here, but we didn't find him or his artifacts over this area.
Wow.
This, I guess, was discovered in 1849 by Stephen Bishop. If you've taken the historic tour, you know the name Stephen Bishop. Stephen discovered this passage.
Cool.
All right, that's a couple loose tidbits I heard. Now let's talk about the geology. Now originally when this rock was laid down, this is all limestone. Limestone is laid down under seas, underwater. And this area of Kentucky was actually, this rock was down at the equator under an inland sea. So you have all this chemical precipitates in the ocean flowing to the bottom, all little animals with calcium exoskeletons, calcium-based exoskeletons fall to the bottom. Now this calcium-based material stacks up and gets compressed, stacks up and gets compressed. We have about 700 feet of that here.
Wow.
So that compressed calcium material turns into limestone, which is calcium carbonate, basically chalk. The properties of calcium carbonate is very susceptible to dissolve by acid. You ever done the baking soda and vinegar thing? That's you see how reactive that is. It's very soft rock, very susceptible to acid. Later on, as geologic time progressed, the continents moved around, the land rose, got above water, we had a river going through here.
Wow.
There's actually a big river delta here, bringing down a lot of sediment, the Michigan River, bringing down a lot of sediments from the north, sand and organic matter. Now, if you take sand and pack it up together, stack it up, compress it, what kind of rock is sandstone? I'll just give it to you. What kind of rock is geology's easy. Sand forms sandstone. An organic matter forms shale. So we have sandstone and shale interbedded together, which means they're mixed together, above the limestone. Now, when it rains, anybody take high school chemistry? Remember when you asked your
Failed
teacher,
it.
when am I ever going to use this? Today's the day. Now, high school chemistry taught you that water was H2O, right? You used around your paper, H2O. Plus, water falls to the atmosphere and picks up carbon dioxide. H2O plus CO2, and you do this arrow. And you had to come up with what's on the right-hand side. Anybody remember what comes up on the right-hand side when you mix H2O and CO2? H2CO3, which is? Carbonic acid. Carbonic acid occurs in nature. It's not like acid rain, the sulfuric acid up in the northwest around Pittsburgh area, but this occurs everywhere. It's a very mild acid, but it does occur in nature. So if I were to walk up to you with a natural form cup of carbonic acid, who would chug it? There's always one guy who will volunteer for that. But anybody like Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite, Pepsi, those things? That's carbonated water which has carbonic acid in it. But those drinks are hundreds of times stronger than what's in nature.
Oh, wow.
But what nature has going for it is time. So if that acidic rain falls and hits the sandstone, it runs off because it's silica-based glass. Nothing happens. But if the sandstone is cracked or missing and it gets to the limestone, it starts dissolving the limestone. Finds a little crack in the limestone, over time it gets bigger, bigger, bigger. Eventually, you had a river flowing through here.
Wow.
So this was an underground tributary of the Green River.
Wow.
So as the Green River cut deeper in the valley, the water table on the cave went deeper. The river's still here, but it's below our feet a couple hundred feet now.
Oh, wow.
So it left this passageway dry.
That's cool.
And the shape of the passageway will tell you about the water flow. If you look ahead of us, you see a nice oval shape. That's called a phreatic tube. That tells us that this tube was generally full of water most of the time. If you take the historic tour, you notice the walls are almost straight up and down. It indicates that tube was not full of water most of the time. But it cut almost straight down. Here, it cut outwards because the water was flowing fast enough to cut to the edges. So you had acid dissolving plus physical erosion happening at the same time. Does anybody remember a TV show in the 60s called The Time Tunnel? Somebody? You're like the second guy in 5 years. Time Tunnel? That looks like the Time Tunnel to me. If you doubt me, it's on YouTube, I'm sure. So, all of our caves in limestone. This whole area of Kentucky is covered with limestone, and if you fly over, it looks like a golf hole. It's called karst topography. There's hundreds and hundreds of caves. Some of them are connected to this cave. If we connect to this cave, we put it in our system. We now have 426 miles of cave, and we're still exploring. They've not found the end of it yet.
426.
Where the end of it is. Now, I say 426 miles. I'm not talking from here to Atlanta. I'm talking between. You have a 7 mile, about 400 foot deep chunk of limestone with 400 miles of caves in it.
Wow.
The thing Swiss cheese. The holes upon holes upon holes.
Wow.
And we have crawling tours that go in those holes if you want to take that tour. It's called the Wild Cave Tour. It's currently not offered, but
Get some of that
that's
bat
your kind of thing.
rabies on
I'll
you.
kind of point out a couple holes they crawl into as we go through.
Yeah, I think I'll pass on that.
So we're going to walk from here all the
I'll
way
wear gloves.
to our first bathroom stop without stopping. But there's gypsum along the way. If you want to see more and hear more about the gypsum, take the Cleveland Avenue tour. Anybody from Cleveland? It's not named after Cleveland.
Cleveland
Park
rocks.
Cleveland, it's built there. That's usually a common place. Any outstanding questions before we take off? Yes, ma'am.
So, do we know what all of our CO2 and tourism is doing to the
Oh, brother.
Spelled B-A-R-E.
It's one of the holes to the crawling tour.
Are they just not offering it, or is it in the summer?
Well, they got shut down because of COVID,
Oh, brother.
because of cramped areas.
Yeah.
But now we don't have the staff there. We are understaffed, about 20 people.
I'd be worried about touching one of them bats and them things.
Well, they touch your cover off, it's no big deal. They touch your skin.
Gotcha. Well, you'd probably just wear gloves on it anyways,
Yeah,
wouldn't
you
you?
wear gloves,
Yeah.
knee pads, and all that.
Gotcha. Have you ever done it?
I've done the training for it, but I couldn't do it. My knees were way away.
Gotcha. I'm a little
I couldn't
too,
walk the next day.
yeah, I'm a little too big right now to do that. Good for a skinny man.
I couldn't do it. I'm 20 years old, I could do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we get a little older, it's a little harder.
Maybe pick my best years. So.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking you were probably in the Navy when you mentioned it, because I was in the Air Force.
My handicap golf game wasn't good enough to get in the Air Force.
Yeah, I hear you.
My brother was in the Air Force.
I just went down to USS Yorktown yesterday. That's amazing, that aircraft carrier. That's a nice tour, and they got the Laffey down there, ship that wouldn't die. Definitely worth going if you get a chance down in Charleston.
My brother was a B-52 guy.
Oh, awesome.
Those that are going to serve you 100 years old.
Yeah, oh, I'm telling you, I worked on 130s, and they're still in service, and they're like 70 years old.
But they're going to put new engines on the B-52s.
Oh, yeah?
They're going to be serving a long time.
I said, well, you know, they do the...
Rewinged them.
Well, they do the NDI on those airframes because, you know, all that stress. We had C-130s, the roofs came off one time flying back from England. One of our airmen was so shook up, she never had to. She's in the Air Force, but she never had to fly again. So they couldn't send her out of Conus unless it was on a ship.
Didn't want to fly in a convertible.
No, she was traumatized because she was right there where the roof blew
Did it
off.
actually rip off?
Yeah, and we had a 10-foot by 17-foot section rip off near Iceland coming back from England. Yep, they made an emergency landing in Keflavik. Pardon?
Hawaiian Air had a 737.
Yeah.
It's like out of sewers.
Yeah, it was. She was pretty freaked out. I'm glad I didn't get on that plane with her. I got on the next one out.